So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I am so glad that summer is coming to an end pretty soon. I like fall better, or autumn as we used to call it. My sinuses are not bothering me, and it is what it is. I was out in that heat yesterday. It was really hot, but you know, I can take the heat. Let me all tell you how people are really a trip. And I know it may seem like I'm always talking about situations and negativity, but you know, these are life situations that arise. And I'm not one to shy away from challenges. I don't ever challenge people, but usually when people challenge me, they oftentimes end up regretting it because they don't understand spiritual backing. They don't understand what backs me up spiritually. They don't understand that I have spirits that watch my back. You feel what I'm saying? They don't understand my connection to the spiritual realm. They don't understand that. Sometimes I don't even understand it. You know what I mean? But I want to title this video The Minority Report. The Minority Report Effect. And here's why I want to entitle this video The Minority Report Effect. We have a soon to be presidential election. We have, on one hand, Donald Trump, who is a white man, who is the former president, who is running for president again. And over here we have Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, however you say her name, who is the current vice president, and she's running for president. Okay? Kamala, she is a black woman mixed with Indian, I believe. I believe her father is has Jamaican ancestral roots or something like that, and her mother is Indian. Is that how it goes? Okay. I don't care about people being upset because maybe people need to be upset in order to really see what's going on. Because sometimes spirit will upset you or cause a uprooting so you can see what's right in front of your eyes. Okay? Yes, Kamala was born in America, I guess, because you don't really know anything about any of these people. But her energies are third world. Those are just facts. Her energies are third world. Donald Trump's energies are American. And I know a lot of people may have an issue with that, which I don't give a fuck. You can have an issue with it. See, the way I look at this, it's not about who I'm going to vote for, because I think I'm going to sit this one out. But I can look at it from an occult view and an objective view, and that is why I call myself the occult view. Now, let's have a real conversation about some things. I was with my mother and my brother, and an Oriental woman, I'm going to say, she's an older woman. I introduced her to my mother and my brother. Well, I'm sorry, she knows my mother, but she had never seen my brother before. And she ignorantly said, "Oh, why do they look so much different?" Because I'm on the chunky side and my brother is slim. And that really offended me. That really offended me because this bitch can barely walk across the parking lot. And I know what you all gonna say. How could you say that about an older woman? Because I can, and I did. This bitch can barely walk across the parking lot. Allegedly, her daughter is a doctor, but for her to have the unmitigated gall to say that to me or say that to my mother, I was going to cuss her out. I was going to follow that bitch and cuss her out from the top of her head to the soles of her fucking feet. But my mother and my brother said, no, don't do that. So I didn't do it. But I did do something else. Get my drift, and that's why I'm here. That is why I titled this video The Minority Report Effect. She had no right to say that to me. Me and my brother have different fathers. My father was on the chunky side. My brother's father was slim and, skinny. I take after my father. I take after his genetics. And I still look like my mother. I have no health problems. None. I don't have any health problems or issues. The last time I took my blood pressure, it was 111 over 53. My heart rate, as a matter of fact, when I went to the doctor, he told me that I have an athlete's heart rate. And I'm chunky. My heart rate at rest is a lot of times is in the 50s, sometimes 40s. He said that's excellent for somebody being chunky like you. Because people don't take into account that no matter what you look like on the outside, it's about what's going on the inside of your body. I have a good immune system. I don't have any cholesterol problems. I don't have any sugar issues. I don't have any high blood pressure. Those are facts. Those are facts. You feel what I'm saying? But people, especially minorities, they always want to put you in a destitute position, especially when they're already in one. Now, I don't know if she meant to be malicious. I don't know if she was speaking out of ignorance because a lot, and also to add, let me add this too. I don't know if she was speaking out of being bipolar because there are a lot of bipolar weirdos walking around with uncontrolled illnesses where they don't take their medicines the way they're supposed to, and we the public have to be subjected to the minority report effect. This is what I'm talking about. For so many years we've always been told, no, I don't want to go that route. Let me say it this way. We've been told that the person that we should fear the most is the white man. And I guess the white woman too. And I get it. There are fractions of lunacy and racism and prejudice that have soaked the very fabric of this country in an abyss of misery, morbid misery. We understand the history of white people and what they've done to black people in this country. We understand that. We have dissected that ad nauseum. We get it. I got it. We know who the enemy is when they practice that religion of racism, institutionally, personally, and spiritually. We get it. Got it. But no one ever talks about the racism and prejudice, as I just showed you, and discriminatory ways of other minorities. What type of spell work is that? That's why I brought up Kamala Harris in the beginning of the video. And that's why I brought up Donald Trump. Because here you have a woman who's a minority running for president. And then when you go and look at her rallies, you see a bunch of ghetto-ness, you see a bunch of ratchetness, and there's no class, there's no prestige. And we're supposed to, people that have a certain boule bouginess to them, such as myself, doesn't matter how much money you have. Somebody told me you ain't got enough money to be bougie. Bougie is not about money. Bougie is about a state of consciousness, because there are people with money that have no class. But we're supposed to be accepting of that type of shit. I'm not attacking Kamala Harris. I don't know her. But I'm supposed to vote for someone that I really don't know a lot about. And the things that I've heard about her are not good. And there are people that I have rapport with that know things about her personally that are not that great, especially when she was in San Francisco. Let's just be honest. I've had my battles with white people, and I've had my battles with other minorities. That's why this is the Minority Report. You know, everything I do is always in like a poetic flow. The Minority Report effect. Just like the time years and years ago, and I've told this story before. When I was looking for work, when I was looking for a job, I was 19 years old at the time. You know, I had just graduated high school. I was told that, you know, if you get your high school diploma, you can go out there and get a job here in the DC area. I want people to hear me out. Here in the DC area, you get your high school diploma, you know, you can go out there and get you a job or whatever the case may be. I said, okay, that's a plan. I'm going to go out here and get me a job. I'm going to work for the government. I'm going to work for a company, etc., etc. Me not knowing the type of world that I was living in, the type of insidious world that was ran by the Minority Report effect. I go to this place in DC, which was a career center, because I had experience. For someone that was 19, I thought I had a pretty good resume. I thought, shit, I got me a pretty good resume. I worked for the Department of Defense. I worked for the Pentagon. I had access to the Pentagon. I had access to not high, but I had access, I had a clearance to get into the Pentagon. Even though I did not work directly at the Pentagon, I worked at one of their field offices in DC, the Army Corps of Engineer building, which was on 20 Mass Avenue down by Union Station. You know, I worked there as a summer hire, and I did a very good job. And they actually transferred me to their main office in what was it, Arlington, Virginia, at 400 Army Navy Drive, when one of the secretaries took sick. Oh no, she went on vacation. She didn't take sick. She went on vacation. and they wanted me to go over there and fill in for her. I didn't want to go, but I had no choice because they wanted me. They didn't want any of the other summer hires. They didn't want any of the other summer hires. They wanted me. I begged them to get somebody else, and they said no. The head boss wants you. And I'm not bragging, but they wanted me because at that time, answering the phone was an art. When you answered the phone on jobs back then, there was a certain art and tonality to it. There was an art to answering the phone. Lease Facilities Division, how can I help you? It is what it is. And I had that phone etiquette. That's the word I was looking for. There's a certain phone etiquette that they were looking for, and I had it. The other summer hires, they didn't have it because they were ghetto and ratchet. Those are just facts. Weren't bad people, but they were ghetto and ratchet. And they didn't want to come to work. They weren't reliable. So after that ended, I knew that that was not going to be a permanent, position. After that ended, I tried to find work. I had my resume. They wanted to, when I went to these career centers to try to find work, they wanted to offer me jobs as a laborer working at the Capitol, basically doing construction work. Now, I had experience working in an office, running an office, administrative experience, but they wanted to downgrade me and I guess knock me off my pedestal because they think everyone is on a pedestal. Like that Asian woman that insulted me, my mother, and my brother. She felt like she needed to knock me off my pedestal. But see, the thing is, I'm not on a pedestal of a human understanding. The pedestal that I'm on, spirit put me there. So no bitch or no man or nigga can knock me off. And I don't care what your race is. But I went to this career center to try to find work. I went to the first one. It was a white guy that was I guess you can say he was my liaison. And he wanted me, I'll never forget, he was a big fat white guy, probably a racist, you know. Not calling all white men racist, but he was probably a racist. And I'll never forget it. He wanted me to apply for a job as a laborer. He was so emphatic about demoting me from where I said, sir, I have office experience. Why would I take a downgrade from that to work as a laborer at the Capitol? That's basically slave work if you don't know what that means. You work, you do construction or work in construction, and they barely pay you. And they can just fire you at the drop of a hat. That's what this man wanted me to do. And that's how a lot of black men end up getting set up because they don't fight for the right shit. You think I'm going to fight for something like that? So I said, you know what? Okay, whatever. I told him, I said, oh, I'll apply for it. And I left his office. Let me tell you what happened. See, I want to show you how the Minority Report works. I went to another career center where there were black people that were, going to be my, whatever, that worked in that office primarily. I walk into the office and it was two black women. I'll never forget these two bitches. Two black women. And yes, I said two bitches. Not witches, two bitches. There's a difference. These were two older black women. And when I say older, because I was like 19 or 20 at the time, I was dressed up, had on some slacks, nice shirt. I'm going there to look for work. One of the black women that was sitting at the desk, she was looking at me like, like, why is he in here? The other one that went in the back, she went and called the white guy, I forgot his name, who was at the other career center, the one that wanted me to work as a laborer. She went and called him and said, I called your other, I guess you can say your other liaison, and he said this about you. You don't know what you want to do. She was very nasty. I wish I could remember that lady's name. I wish I could remember that bitch's name, but I can't remember. You don't know what you want to do. And you only have, both of them said, you only have 6 months of work experience. Now, I had just graduated high school. How much work experience do you expect a 19-year-old to have? I had some. They degraded me. They tried to attack my spirit. They tried to attack my body. They tried to throw spell work at me. And this is why I call this the Minority Report effect. Because for the most part, there was the one white guy in the mix, but for the most part, those two black women that worked at that center, at that career center, both of them could have found me a position. They could have done it. I came there looking for jobs. I came there looking for work. I've never had a drug problem. I've never had a criminal record. I'm not an alcoholic. I've never robbed anybody. I've never stolen anything from anybody. But they treated me the exact same way that now they're saying that all black people are being treated by white people. But hold up. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, that's how black people were treating other black people. That's how minorities treat other minorities. But yet, you're always talking about how someone is discriminating against you. And you think that I want to vote for a woman who's going to back up all of that nonsense? Who's going to back up all of that spell work and put those types of minorities in positions of power? See, we really have not been looking at this clearly. Yeah, there may be some white racist white people up in the mix, but you know what I found out? Most of the problems that we have as black people and most of the problems that we have as minorities, it's not because of white people. Maybe some, maybe from old systemic systems, but the ones that report on it are the minorities. The ones who put it in place, the ones who promote it, that's the word that I'm looking for, is the minorities. I'm talking about Indians, I'm talking about Somalians, I'm talking about Orientals, Ethiopians, I'm talking about other African blacks. I'm talking about African Americans. I'm talking about Latinos. I'm talking about Mexicans. Black people are not the only ones that are crabs in the barrel. That's what's been told to us. But it's across the board because it's the Minority Report. It's the Minority Report effect. Minorities are each other's worst enemy. We throw spell work at each other. We attack each other. We try to destroy each other. Like those two black women tried to destroy me when I came to that career place looking for a job. And they tried to degrade me. They tried to attack my spirit. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Because once I realized what was going on, I said, okay, this is a connected network. This is a cult. All of those sororities and fraternities, they all have a hand in this shit. That is why Kamala Harris's sorority is really supporting her and putting her up to this too, because they support this. These are elitist types of blacks, or they think they are anyway. And they try to degrade the rest of us. They try to make it difficult for the rest of us. I've seen it happen. So when I look around at the world and they're telling me to hate Donald Trump because he did, I understand Donald Trump. I get it. I know what that is. I know what I'm dealing with Donald Trump and all of that. I get it and got it. But it's one of those things, you deal with what you know versus what you don't know. I don't know anything about Kamala Harris. I don't know what that is. I'm not calling her a that. I'm talking about the energy. I don't know what that is. I do, but I don't. We know what Donald Trump is. I know what he is. I know what to expect from him. And no, I may not be a Donald Trump fan per se, may not be a Donald Trump fan, but I can give credit where credit is due. See, they tell people, oh, don't listen to him. He's crazy. He's unhinged. No, he's not. The bad guy always tells the truth. The bad guy always tells the truth. But we don't want to believe it because it's easier to believe lies and deception. It's easier to believe that. It's easier to believe that somebody is in your best interest when they're not. I'm going to be honest with you. When Donald Trump was in office, even though I did not like him the first time he was in office, my only gripe with Donald Trump is that it's some of the people that back him up and some of the egregious things that they say sometimes about black people. For example, Hulk Hogan. But you know what? I know who Hulk Hogan is. We know who Hulk Hogan is. Yeah, we heard the phone conversation of him saying the N-word over and over again, and we understand he don't want his sons dating no black women. We get it. We got it. We know what that is. But we don't know about the Minority Report over here. We don't know about that. Because, see, the Minority Report is trying to create more poverty. When Donald Trump was in office, I was making a lot more money than I am now. Just being honest. When Donald Trump was in office, and this is not promoting Trump, so I don't want anybody to get any, ideas, because I'm not promoting any candidates. But I'm not stupid. I can see for myself what's going on. And even with everything that's going on with Trump and the people that back him up, when you look at one of his rallies versus one of Kamala Harris's rallies, you don't see no whole bunch of ghetto ratchetness, no matter what they try to tell us, or how they try to force you to believe a certain way. I believe and I see and what I believe. I know what I know. And I know what people are going to think. Oh, he's supporting Trump. Well, even if I was supporting Trump, so what the fuck? No, I'm not supporting Trump as much as I'm supporting what's in my best interest. And just because Stone Cold Steve Austin called out Hulk Hogan for being at a Trump rally, and just because see, they try to play this, well, Stone Cold Steve Austin supports LGBT rights. That doesn't help me. That's not putting money in my pocket. That helps elitist. That doesn't help me. That does not help me at all that he supports the LGBT community or supports gay marriage. He ain't trying to marry me with his fine ass. He ain't trying to marry me, so what difference does it make? And I'm being facetious and comedic at the same time. But the point that I'm making is they try to use all of these um, manipulations and spell work. Oh, or neurolinguistics. Oh, Donald Trump doesn't support the LGBT community. Donald Trump doesn't like black people. Judge Joe Brown just recently did an interview, and he's a straight shooter. He's a cancer. Cancers are straight shooters. And he said that it is nonsense to believe that Donald Trump is a racist. And he gave the reasons why. That Donald Trump was giving black men loans, not loans, I'm sorry, giving them money to start their businesses and stuff like that. My uncle was a businessman. He was a small businessman. Him and Donald Trump had a distant rapport with each other. My uncle met Donald Trump at the airport one time, and he stopped him when he was married to Marla Maples. And if I can get that picture from my aunt, I will post it to prove it. It's an old picture. It was right before my uncle got killed. And Mr. Trump would send him, you know, popcorn and different things from Trump Plaza and stuff like that, like gift baskets. So I have to look at everything in totality. Donald Trump didn't become a problem until he got into politics. But he said he got into politics because he didn't like how the country was being ran. And you know what? He's absolutely right, because this is not America anymore. And it has nothing to do with immigrants, in my opinion. It has to do with big corporations and the illegal activities that take place within them and how they abuse their power, how they do not follow laws, but they want to put it all on immigrants so they can continue breaking laws. That's what they want to divert our attention to, but that's really not it. Maybe some, but that's really not my issue. But you know what's interesting? A lot of these corporations are owned by so-called minorities. Asians, Middle Easterns, Indians, and other people of color. And what do? They abuse other people of color, especially black people. But you want me to believe that Kamala Harris, who has a record, from what I understand, of creating and maintaining and uplifting laws that have caused black men, or black people specifically, a lot of pain and anguish. You want me to vote for that? A woman who was in a position of power, who put a lot of black people in jail. But you have a bunch of black ghetto ratchet people dancing and down in Atlanta with Megan Thee Stallion, dancing at her rallies with all that ghetto ratchet ass shit. Black people act like we don't have any class or any prestige with us or any coof. But you want me to vote for that. And if I don't vote for that, then something is wrong with me. Something is wrong with me if I don't vote for that. She represents, for me, every minority that has discriminated against me, that has tried to tear down my spirit, that has tried to tear down my intellect. Because what I understand too is that a lot of these people under the minority effect, they are intellectually challenged. They may go to college. They may get degrees. I know a dumb bitch that went to motherfucking college. This is a dumb bitch in her 60s named Sweetie. Huh. This dumb bitch does Strayer Online, gets a master's degree. She was a secretary already. She gets a master's degree just to be a glorified secretary somewhere else because she was working at Howard University, the hospital part. She don't work there anymore. She gets her master's degree to be another secretary, just with a little bit more of glory. Make that make sense. But these are the type of people that want to walk around thinking that they're better than people. I saw a guy who lived, well, he don't live in our neighborhood, but his father does. He drives a Tesla. I think that's what you call it, a Tesla. And you know, every time you see this man, he is polite. He speaks to everyone. My neighbors, we were sitting out. He spoke to everyone. He didn't just speak to one person. He didn't walk around with his nose up in the air like he better than somebody. He said, how's everybody doing? And this man drives a Tesla. But you got these broke back, struggle back motherfuckers walking around, these Minority Report effect, the Minority Report effect. You got these people up under the minority effect. You have these people don't have no money, don't have no prospects of making money. They can't even have a side hustle, but they walking around trying to act like they better than somebody, trying to knock people off of their pedestal. You can't knock me off of something that God put me on. You can't knock me off of something that God put me on. That goes for men and that goes for women. And when I say God, I'm not talking about the Bible. I'm talking about the God within me. The real God. Which has nothing to do with gender. What I am, you will never understand. And I'm not talking to the people that watch me. I'm putting this out into the universe, in the air, since people want to use a lot of air magic. I'm putting this out into the universe, into the air, directed towards those who are up under the minority effect. Minorities treat each other like shit. And we really don't acknowledge that. We ignore that. We treat each other like shit. If I'm being layman really when I'm saying minority, because I really don't consider myself a minority. Because being a minority is really a certain frequency that brings in poverty, pain, suffering, and lack. Poverty, pain, suffering, and lack. That is what it brings in. And a lot of people are up under the minority effect. That is why that dumb bitch Sweetie, who went online to Strayer University and got that master's degree, that is why, even though she has a master's degree, nothing in her life has changed because she's up under the minority effect. That's a curse, bitch. That's a curse, bitches. And you want me to vote for the minority effect? You want me to vote for that? They still cannot tell me what in Project 2025. They still cannot tell me what is in that project. They say it's 300 pages or 900 pages long. Where is it? Because Project 2025 is part of the minority effect. And they want to say it's something that the Heritage Foundation created or whatever the case may be. But you know what? I got my own theory on that. We're already living up under Project 2025. Black people and minorities, we've been living up under Project 2025. but they just called it something else. Some people call it New World Orders. Look at what they're doing to each other over there in Israel and Gaza and all that. The minority effect. Look at how Africans treat African Americans. Look at how African Americans treat Africans. Look at how East Indians treat black people. Look at how, especially Chinese and Orientals, look at how they treat black people. Look at how we treat them. Oh, we patronize their businesses. That's why I don't fuck with their businesses no more. I would encourage black people, do not patronize carryouts anymore. They do nasty things to the food. Don't patronize them. And that's no alleging in that. Let them go bankrupt. Stop patronizing them. The minority effect. The Minority Report effect. But we're not supposed to talk about that, right? We're not supposed to talk about, let me go back to that. We're not supposed to talk about how Kamala Harris's positions on putting people in jail were influenced by racism and prejudice. Because she reminds me of those same women at that career center that discriminated against me. That is what she reminds me of. Because she's up under the minority effect. But this is what you want black people to vote for, right? You want black people to vote for that ghetto ratchet shit because, you know, in the world of the minority effect, other minorities, they ignored their own issues and downfalls, but they're always focused on black people's. But the Chinese people and the Orientals, they don't talk about how they practice incest in their culture with their mothers and their grandmothers and their fathers and all. They don't talk about that. But they want to talk about how ghetto we are. And they always want to talk about our body and weight and all that. But they don't talk about the fraction of lunacy within their culture. They don't want to talk about that. And we want to cover that up in the minority effect. They don't want to talk about the trafficking that goes on in India. They don't want to talk about that. Child trafficking. They don't want to talk about that. But they want the world to believe, based upon what they're seeing with Kamala Harris, they want the world to believe that black people are nothing but eating chicken and dancing and hip hop music and, you know, Megan Thee Stallion. They want us to believe that they want the world to believe, excuse me, that that is our culture. That is not my culture. I'm not even a fan of no Megan Thee Stallion. I don't even like rap music like that. But they want us to look like, or they try to make us look like in the world that we're nothing but ghetto, ratchet, uneducated, illiterate, stupid, dumb, delayed. That's how they want us to look. And that rally that I seen that Kamala Harris did, I think in Atlanta, that's exactly what it makes black people look like. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. If it offends you, then it should. And it's not a motherfucking thing you can do about it. The only thing you can do about it is this, and I don't mean to be crude and mean, but I'm saying that to try to get people to wake up. I don't have anything against other minorities. But at the end of the day, it's called self-reflection and self-examination. And that's something that a lot of minorities don't do. Why are we in the position that we're in? Why are we in the position that we're in as black people? Is it because we believe whatever somebody tells us? The bad guy is always telling the truth about a lot of stuff. Just like in Dynasty. They wanted us to believe that Alexis, for those of us who are old enough, they wanted us to believe that Alexis was the bad guy, but the real bad guy was really Blake and Crystal. I bet you didn't see that coming. The real bad guy was really Blake and Crystal. See, you got to look at it from an occult. If you're an occultist, you have to really look at it from an occultist point of view. When they had that storyline where Sammy Joe had that actress, Rita Leslie, who was also played by Linda Evans, that was like her double. She looked just like Crystal. What people didn't understand on an occult level, they were showing you how Crystal really felt about Blake. But what they did was they had Linda Evans play a double role. But Rita Leslie, the double role that Linda Evans played, the twin character, that was really Crystal's subconscious and how she really felt about Blake, which she really didn't love him for him. She loved him for his money. That's why she tried to kill him. Well, not Crystal, but her double. It's all subconscious. Alexis wasn't telling no lies. That is why the consortium was able to get their hands on Crystal and program her to kill Blake. Because it was all that was already embedded in her subconscious anyway. See, people didn't understand that. That's who she really was. On an occult level. I'm not talking about the fairy tale fake shit of it. I'm talking about as an occultist. So when Alexis came in and she was saying, Crystal, you just wanted Blake's money. She was telling the truth. Alexis wasn't telling no lies. And she's a Gemini too. But we're up under the minority effect. And that's poverty, pain, suffering, and lack. And I remember in Lean on Me, and I think the real Joe Clark also said this. He said that they were setting up a system to make black people a permanent underclass. And that is the minority effect. No disrespect to any other minorities, but I'm talking about how we treat each other. Because that's a pattern of poverty, pain, and lack. Poverty, pain, lack. PPL. Poverty, pain, and lack. And you have to rise above that. And you have politicians like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden that want to keep you under that. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is perfect. By far, he's not. And I'm not taking up for him. I'm not taking up for any of them. But I'm just telling you what I see as an occultist and a spiritualist. And I know who's going to win the election. I already know. I already know who's going to win. because I pulled it in my cards, but I'm not revealing that information because I don't think people are not going to like it. But anyway, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to put that out. You know, it is what it is. But that's just my perspective on everything that's going on right now and that has been going on leading up to this point. We're up under the minority effect.